The 3rd of June, 1944, Salzburg, Austria. The Second World War is in its 5th year, and across Europe, millions have already perished. The Allied invasion of Nazi-occupied Europe is just days away, and yet Adolf Hitler presides over a lavish wedding ceremony at Mirabell Palace in Salzburg before moving to the Eagle's Nest high in the Bavarian Alps, where the celebration will continue for the next 3 days. Despite the increasingly common food shortages and bombings of major cities, the newlyweds enjoy live music, dancing, and champagne. The groom is Hermann Fegelein, a high-ranking SS officer, an opportunistic social climber, and someone whom Albert Speer, Hitler's architect, described as one of the most disgusting people in Hitler's circle. The bride is the younger sister of Eva Braun, Hitler's longtime mistress and companion, who for years lived in her older sister's shadow. She has spent the war years at the Berghof, flirting with SS officers and enjoying the luxuries of the Nazi elite, seemingly oblivious to the genocide unfolding across Europe. Her name is Gretl Braun. Margarete Bertha Gretl Braun was born on the 31st of August 1915 in Munich, then part of the German Empire. She was the youngest of 3 daughters, and along with her sisters Eva and Ilse, she was raised in a middle-class family. Gretel's father Friedrich was a schoolteacher, and her mother Franziska worked as a seamstress. Gretl dropped out of secondary school at the age of 16 and afterwards found work as a clerk for the photography company of Heinrich Hoffmann, Hitler's official photographer. Hoffmann also employed her older sister, Eva. It was through Hoffmann that Eva had first met Adolf Hitler, and Gretl soon found herself introduced to the same inner circle. That job became Gretel's ticket into Hitler's world, and gave her the chance to develop a shared passion for photography with her sister. Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party came into power in January 1933. 2 years later, in August 1935, Hitler provided the sisters with a 3-bedroom apartment in Munich, near the city center, where they entertained senior Nazis in between trips to the Berghof, Hitler's private retreat in the Bavarian Alps. In March 1936, Gretl and Eva moved into a small villa at 12 Wasserburger Straße, in one of Munich's most prestigious neighborhoods. Their father was not pleased with this arrangement and wrote to Hitler to protest. Gretl spent much of her time with Eva at the Berghof, where she brightened the formal atmosphere by having fun, smoking, and flirting with SS orderlies. Hitler detested smoking and frequently lectured those around him about its dangers. He once promised a Swiss gold watch and jewelry to any woman who could go a month without cigarettes. Eva earned her reward, but Gretl did not. Hitler personally tried to persuade Gretl to quit. He told her, "Give up cigarettes, and I will offer you a villa." Gretl replied, "My Führer, a villa would be a great joy to me, but only one, whereas smoking gives me 20 little satisfactions every day, satisfactions that last and multiply." Like many of the young women who surrounded the Nazi leader, Gretl Braun was always on the lookout for a suitable and influential husband. Hitler himself encouraged young party officials, military officers, and SS members to court her. His first choice was Heinrich, the son of his official photographer Heinrich Hoffmann. Gretl did not find him attractive and instead began a relationship with an American diplomat. When that relationship ended, she turned her attention to Hitler's adjutant, Fritz Dagers. But that relationship also came to an end when Dagers was reassigned to the Eastern Front in 1944, following a sarcastic comment made in front of Hitler, which the Führer did not find amusing. Moreover, rumors circulated that Gretl was pregnant with Dagers' child, and that his refusal to marry her had angered the Führer. Hitler also tried to persuade Walter Hervel, a member of his inner circle, to marry Gretl. Hervel served as the liaison between Nazi Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop and Hitler himself. The Führer once described Hervel as an excellent diplomat, a necessary quality, he added, for anyone serving as an intermediary between himself and Ribbentrop. Hitler promised Hervel that after marrying Gretl, he would appoint him ambassador to Rome, but Hervel did not fancy the idea. He married someone else instead, and Hitler was so furious that he refused to see him for some time. Eventually, however, he forgave him, and Hervel returned to Hitler's inner circle. Gretl then became involved with Hermann Fegelein, the SS liaison officer to Hitler. Between September 1939 and the autumn of 1943, Fegelein and the cavalry units under his command participated in the so-called anti-partisan operations in Poland and the Soviet Union, operations that in practice often meant the systematic murder of Jews and civilians. Tens of thousands of men, women, and children were killed in areas where his units operated. Despite this violent record, Fegelein cultivated the image of a charming and ambitious officer within Hitler's inner circle and was accustomed to attracting attention wherever he went. He had a refreshing, sometimes very dry wit, and he never minced his words. He would go to the nightly parties hosted by Martin Bormann, Hitler's private secretary, where he drank with all the important men and had all the women at his feet. On one occasion, he frankly admitted that nothing was as important to him as his career and a good life. Many in Hitler's inner circle, however, despised him. Albert Speer, Hitler's chief architect and later Minister of Armaments, called him one of the most disgusting people in Hitler's circle. Fegelein had worked his way into Heinrich Himmler's favor through a combination of flattery and manipulation, gaining choice assignments, promotions, and decorations despite horrific casualty rates among the units he commanded. For Gretl, marrying Fegelein meant escaping her sister's shadow and securing her place in Hitler's inner circle. On the 3rd of June 1944, just days before the Allied invasion of Normandy, Gretl Braun married Hermann Fegelein. Eva had arranged the wedding, held at Mirabell Palace in Salzburg, with Hitler in attendance and witnessed by Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, and Martin Bormann. Eva insisted that the wedding be perfect, as beautiful as if it were her own, supervising every aspect of the planning. Fegelein was only too happy to marry Gretl, as it cemented his position within the Nazi hierarchy. The marriage also transformed Gretl's standing, finally bringing her out of her sister's shadow and greatly increasing her social prestige. Despite the increasingly common food shortages and bombings of major cities, the newlyweds partied for 3 days, while the Nazi leadership turned its attention to the deteriorating situation in France and Italy, where the Allies had just captured Rome. Gretl Braun and Hermann Fegelein had little time together before the war entered its final catastrophic stage. Just a week after the wedding, on the 10th of June 1944, Fegelein was promoted to SS Gruppenführer and Generalleutnant of the Waffen-SS, which was the military branch of the SS. On the 20th of July 1944, he was at the Wolfslair in East Prussia when Oberstleutnant Klaus von Stauffenberg set off a bomb in a failed bid to kill Hitler. Fegelein survived the blast, and his decision to marry Hitler's de facto sister-in-law had worked in his favor. His career was advancing fast. Soon, Gretl became pregnant and was staying at the Berghof, far from the bombing and combat. During the last months of 1944, Fegelein headed the investigation into the 20 July plot, while Eva traveled back and forth between Berlin and the Berghof to keep her sister company. In January 1945, Hitler and Eva, along with most of the government and their followers, moved into the fortified Führer bunker complex in central Berlin, while Gretl remained at the Berghof. In April 1945, the Red Army had broken through the German military and was close to capturing the German capital. On the 23rd of April, Eva Braun wrote her final letter to her younger sister, Gretl, asking her to destroy most of her correspondence while preserving and burying a small portion of her personal papers. None of these documents were found after the war. With defeat closing in, Fegelein tried to escape Berlin and flee to Sweden or Switzerland. When Himmler attempted to negotiate a separate peace with the Western Allies, Hitler flew into a rage and ordered Fegelein's arrest. The Führer believed that Fegelein had betrayed him. A commando squad found Fegelein at home, reportedly drunk and dressed in civilian clothes. On the night of the 28th of April, 1945, as Fegelein was court-martialed and executed for desertion, Hitler finally married Eva Braun. 2 days later, on the 30th of April 1945, Hitler and Eva Braun took their own lives in the bunker. Less than a week afterward, on the 5th of May 1945, Gretl Braun gave birth to a daughter whom she named Eva Barbara Fegelein, in memory of her dead sister. The Second World War in Europe ended on the 8th of May 1945. After the war, Gretl cut ties with her family. She hid Eva Braun's photograph albums, private films, and personal letters in the grounds of her late husband's mansion. At some point, she met a German refugee whom she came to trust. Out of love or financial desperation, she confided in him about the hidden archive. But the man was not who he seemed. He turned out to be an agent of the American Counterintelligence Corps. He persuaded her to reveal the hiding place, and the entire archive was sent to Washington, where the photographs were distributed to intelligence services around the world. In February 1954, Gretl married Kurt Berghof in Munich, but the marriage produced no children. Tragically, her only child, Eva Barbara Fegelein, committed suicide in April 1971, at the age of 25 after her boyfriend was killed in a car accident. In the late 1970s, one of Gretl's cousins found her in Bavaria, but by then she had Alzheimer's disease. Gretl Braun was 72 years old when she died on the 10th of October, 1987 in the small town of Steingaden, West Germany. The secrets of her correspondence with her sister were buried with her.
Thanks for watching the World History Channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.